everyone. Hope you're all having an amazing day. I am so excited to be here today with the beautiful Irene Fehr. And Irene, I actually met not too long ago, and she's an amazing coach who specializes in intimacy, and she is known for frankly talking about women's libido and pleasure. And she really supports women and couples exploring and going for sex that works for their body and soul, especially in this last frontier of women's empowerment. And as a certified coach, she leads women and couples on a journey of sexual growth, expansion, and connection. And I am super excited to have you here today, Irene. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yay. So I love to always find out from my guests is kind of what led you to this work. If you would just take a minute and tell us a little bit about you and kind of your path to become who you are today.
Thanks for asking that question. So my path to my job, which now I think of as like the most exciting job, the path here was not that exciting. So it started with really my marriage, which was 12 years ago. And I, like so many women, like millions and millions of women, I had a great time in the beginning sexually with my partner. We were having sex several times a day, and it was wonderful. And then we got deeper into the relationship, right? We moved in with each other, we got married, and the libido just took a nosedive. And I went through this path of, first I lost lubrication, and I thought, wow, that's strange. But I went to doctors and they said, oh, just continue having sex, just use lube. So I did that, and then I developed painful sex. And that was really painful, but also kind of devastating. Like, wow, I had to really abstain from sex because of the pain. And then the libido went. And 3 years into the relationship, we were in a sexless marriage. And at the time, I had no one to talk to. I mean, this was 12 years ago. I went to gynecologists whom I thought I could trust. They were looking at my genitals. I thought they knew something about sex and sexuality. And I got a lot of discouraging messages, one of which was, well, it's normal for women to lose their libido as they get older. Mind you, I was 28 years old, but I got that message. And I also got the message that it's also normal to lose your libido in a long-term relationship. That comes with the territory. And it was devastating to hear that. And, I took those messages, but deep down, I also knew there's something really wrong with this picture. And I thought there was something wrong with me, naturally. And now that this is the women that I work with as well. And naturally, my conclusion was there's something wrong with me. But I also held on to hope that there is something more that's available. There's something so much more to sex than definitely pain, but also so much more to sex that I was experiencing as well. And one of the things that I wasn't experiencing, also like millions and millions of women, is orgasm. Couldn't orgasm. So very much sex ended when my partner came, and we didn't go further, we didn't explore, and I, like, deep down at my soul level, like I knew more was possible, and my body was capable of more. So that's what happened to me. And then for many years, I did absolutely nothing and watched myself kind of get more and more depressed as I really believed that there was something wrong with me, that I was asexual, that I was somehow broken. Until it was 7 years ago that I hit rock bottom. I love how Brene Brown says, you think you're having a nervous breakdown, but it's really spiritual awakening. And so I had that, and there was a moment where I realized, remember that voice that kept telling you that more is possible? Listen to it. Go find what's possible. And I went and I started doing exploration of my own body through a practice called orgasmic meditation, and started to learn my own anatomy, learn what my body's capable of, the pleasure. I started meeting partners who were really interested in exploring this together. That there are men out there who are really curious about women's bodies and women's pleasure, and really going so much deeper at the physical level, but also on the emotional and spiritual level. And I started what I started finding was like a treasure trove of what's possible. And it was a no-brainer that I wanted to share this with other women. Because I know that loss of libido, painful sex, this touches as much as 1 in 3 women in the world. And it's such a devastating experience, especially if you're in a partnership with a loving partner. And I want to solve this problem. I want to solve this epidemic. And it was very clear, this is what I'm meant to do.
Thank goodness for you. I'm so grateful. I mean, I think what you're saying is so powerful, and it is so heartbreaking that so many women experience this and they go to see their gynecologist thinking these people are the experts, and they tell you them, oh, just get some lube. It's normal. It happens to everyone. Welcome to your life. I mean, that's just, oh, it is so heartbreaking. Yeah. And I see like in every survey I do, the top complaint is that they have no libido and it hurts and they don't want to have sex or, avoid it because of those reasons. And so I love how you heard that little voice inside of possibility and you just let that be your beacon to find the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'd love I know for many women listening, they might not be familiar with orgasmic meditation. So would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's one of my favorite practices that I also teach to my clients and to teach to anyone who wants, because it's such a powerful practice. So it is a meditative practice in the sense that just like in a regular meditation, you are focusing on your breath and dropping into your body. Well, in orgasmic meditation, you're focusing on your genitals. And this is a partnered practice. So what it looks like is that there's a woman or a person with a clitoris and a partner. It could be a man or a woman. And I'll just say the woman keeps her clothes on, but takes off her pants, lays down, butterflies her legs, and her partner strokes her clitoris for 15 minutes. Now, this is not meant to be sex. This is not meant to be foreplay. This is not meant to be in any way some kind of lead up to sexual activity. You do it the way you would do a sitting meditation. You sit down and you're there for the experience that you get by doing this. Now, why would he be stroking her clitoris? This is the heart of women's sexuality. We have 8,000 nerve endings in our clitoris. It is a powerful, literally, sexual engine that holds nerves, sensations, so much in us. And we only get to experience getting touched on our clitoris only as a lead up to sex, to penetration, to orgasm. So this is an opportunity to receive that pleasure without it having to lead to an orgasm, meaning climax. This is about developing orgasm as a state rather than an end goal. Being in that state of openness, of pleasure, of connection to your body, of the ride, so the waves of sensation, pleasure, and arousal, again, without trying to get to somewhere, which is one of the biggest unspoken complaints for women in sex. Men go for sex like, we got to get to the goal, let's go. There's the end in mind. And women love the journey. And in this experience, that's what women get to receive and really be in. And what men learn from this is to ride those waves and not to speed it up, but just to be there. It's kind of like learning sailing for men. Just being, the ride, the water, the waves. Rather than being on a chase.
Yeah. That's so beautiful and so powerful too for the women that I feel like we're so conditioned in our society that we are performing. Like a lot of times sex is a performance. It's not for you. You're worried about your partner. You're pleasing everyone. You don't even drop into your own body. So having that opportunity where you just lay back and receive with no expectation. Yeah. So healing in itself.
And, sometimes, so it's exactly what you're saying. It's about just no expectations. And sometimes your body needs to sleep. And I've had many OMs. So OM is OM, short for orgasmic meditation, there are many times where I have fallen asleep in an OM. And of course, I would wake up all embarrassed, like, oh my God, I wasn't there with my partner. And my partner would feel so incredibly honored that I was relaxed enough and safe enough to really drop in and fall asleep. And this is where that permission to be ourselves, permission to not perform, but to really be there for our body, for our pleasure. This is a practice where you start to learn that, and where you really, it's a somatic practice. So you code it in your body, right? You know it in your bones, so to speak, or in your clitoris.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for explaining that more. And I'm sure if anyone's interested in learning more about that, you can always contact Irene and learn more about that. But so, and I know the other thing that you work a lot with, when you mentioned before, like painful sex and how this is such a huge epidemic. What would you say to, women that are facing this, like to give them hope? What would be maybe one or two things that you could offer that they could maybe start to implement to try to address this and move forward?
So there's definitely some reasons for painful sex that have to do with medical issues, such as endometriosis, which is very serious and it causes serious issues that do require medical attention. So I want to say that, and also want to say that there's another group of reasons why women will have painful sex that actually has nothing to do with anything medical, has nothing to do with hormonal issues, but has a lot to do with our understanding of our own body and of arousal. So I'm going to speak to that group rather than this other group that does actually have medical reasons for this. And the group that I want to speak to is, and this is where I fell in. So I had terrible pain during intercourse upon penetration. So at the vaginal opening inside, where there was this sensation of him bumping up against my cervix, which was very painful, and just overall tightness. And the key here is to understand that there's actually nothing broken with you and there's nothing wrong with you. The key is to understanding your own arousal patterns and what it takes to actually get aroused. And what do I mean by that? Arousal is tissues getting engorged. So blood flows to the tissues, they become supple, they stretch, and you're able to open up. So literally in penetration, your opening gets bigger and it gets less tight. It's the same thing on the inside. So engorgement then expands the uterus, and the uterus shifts up, making room for space for your partner. And all these things are not about being broken somehow sexually, but about learning what it takes. And given the average time of foreplay and penetration is a total of all 15 minutes, while an average time for women to get really, really engorged is 45 minutes or longer, most women are having penetration way, way, way before their bodies are actually ready. And this is, so it creates pain, and it creates a cycle where it hurts. And if you keep doing it, the body is like, whoa, don't do that again. Don't do that again. And it keeps shutting down more and more each time. Yeah. So, and that creates body memory, which is like, oh, a lot of women who come to work with me, they will tell me that they cringe when their partner touches just their shoulder, like caresses them, because they know that touching the shoulder is going to lead to kissing, it's going to lead to foreplay, and then I'm going to have penetration, and I am not, this was not pleasant last time. So it's really important to learn what it takes for you to be really deeply aroused. And I talk about this, not to have sex until it's absolutely irresistible. Literally, like until your pussy can suck him in.
Yes.
And that will reverse a lot of the painful sex and a lot of the cycle of, contracting when anything gives you a signal that it might lead to sex. And then, of course, so that's kind of avoiding pain strategy. But the other thing is, when you are aroused, when you are in that state, you are in a blissful state. You literally are in a trance-like state where you are open, when you don't notice what's going on, when you are fully in your body. And that's where so much pleasure is happening. So much of the kind of sexual potential that we dream of, that's in that zone. Yes. Where you really allow your body to be fueled by stimulation, by touch that works for you, by connection, and getting there.
Thank you for sharing that. I love how you talk about not feeling broken. It's not that you're broken. It's just being curious to explore what it will be to open you up, what it does take to get you to the point where you are.
Yeah.
Like you just can't wait one more minute. I love how in the Taoist philosophy, that's kind of the way. It's like the man is not supposed to penetrate the woman until she is begging.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that's not the way it is in today's society. And especially I work with a lot of moms, and a lot of the women who watch, their big struggle is time. Like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome to have 45 minutes, but that's unrealistic. I don't have 2 hours to have sex. So what would you say to those women who have that, complaint, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it is a real struggle. And what I say to that is, can I draw a graph?
Oh, I'd love it, please.
So I use this graph a lot. So if we think about, this is a graph, and this is like that moment where your partner says, hey, honey, let's have sex tonight, right? So that's usually when we start thinking, how do I get in the mood? How do I get turned on? What do I need, right? And we're usually starting in that place from literally zero. Like the cup is empty. You worked all day. You took care of the kids. You cleaned the house. You took care of 1,000 emails for work. I mean, like 1,000 things have been done, right? And then there's that moment. And it is so hard for women to go from 0 to 60 if completely impossible, especially again, if your cup is empty. So here's the solution, or at least part of the solution, is making sure that you do things before that point 0. So this is about connecting to your body, connecting to pleasure, connecting to your partner in different ways throughout, not even the day, but if you want to have sex on a Saturday night, start on Monday, the week before, building that arousal. So this is where self-care comes in. And it doesn't need to be sexual arousal. It doesn't need to be like you need to somehow stimulate yourself sexually. But it's about connecting to pleasure, making sure that you have time for silence each day, making sure that you have time for movement, so moving your hips really sensually and allowing your body to open up. Maybe you are more of the type that needs a bath to get turned on. So take baths. Maybe it's baths with candlelight. Maybe it's different things, but building up your arousal through self-care on your own. Touching yourself, so exploring your genitals, not necessarily masturbating with a goal like to orgasm, but exploring yourself, using the jade egg as a practice, doing all these things so that you're connecting to your sexuality, not just on that point 0 when he asks or when you think it's a good time to have sex, but throughout the day. And then also working in sexual touch and sexual connection with your partner throughout the day. So texting them or having text you, hey, honey, I'm thinking about you. I'm just smelling your skin on me right now. Or somehow connecting through text, leaving cards, doing little things like coming up to your partner and kissing them, or having them come up from the back and kiss you on the neck, not because they are initiating sex, but because they want to smell your neck. or play with your hair, or cuddle up to you, or oming. So orgasmic meditation is one of these amazing practices that basically build up your arousal. If you do this as a daily practice, the way you would do a sitting meditation, it builds up your arousal so that on that Saturday night, you're bursting with sexual energy to share rather than cringing and thinking, where am I going to find it within me? So that buildup is incredibly important, and it has to be happening on a regular basis. Little things each day add up to something at the end of the week, let's say. So really important, a really important question, because yeah, you can't really solve it if you have to get yourself up and going from 0 to 60.
I love that. Yeah. And how it is a daily practice of just being with yourself in a connected way.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of use this analogy too, that your sex life is like a puppy. So most people have dogs and they understand. It's very clear. You don't have to explain it to people that when you get a dog, you have to pet it, you have to feed it, you have to take it out to pee and poop. Otherwise, it's going to wilt away and die. And your sex life is the same way. There are things that you have to do each day to maintain it, to keep it alive. And it's a thing, it's a living, it's a being that is created in a couple. And so it needs the same kind of maintenance as a puppy does.
Yeah. And I think one of the interesting hard truths about it is like anything, it's like if you have to put time and attention there for it to flourish. I love that puppy analogy. That is so great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too that I have, I know many couples who get puppies and take care of their puppies, but they don't take care of their sex life. So, yeah, but it's a sober reminder that it has the same needs.
Mm-hmm. And giving permission to all of you women out there that how important it is to take care of that part of yourself so you don't have to go from 0 to 60.
Yeah.
And like how I love how you mentioned just as simple as like just moving your body.
Mm-hmm.
Little simple things that you can do, but nourishing that. So I love that so much. I think.
And I have a name for this. I call this our daily pleasure quota. We need to fill up our daily pleasure quota. And again, it could be like dancing for 5 minutes to your favorite song, getting your favorite cup of tea in silence without, being on the phone. Or just hand holding with your partner for just a couple of minutes. Those little things are going to add up.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I know comes up a lot with women that I work with is they want to start implementing some of these things, and getting their partner on board may be a little more challenging. And so I don't know if you have anything that you would share on how to, some things that you like to offer for women to talk to their partner about, all right, instead of sex being 15 minutes, let's try to extend it and let's just play more, and how they can approach that in a way that's received.
Yeah, that's always a hard one because this is such a sensitive topic around with couples, especially if they've been doing something and it hasn't been working. So there's always, emotions and things around that. What I found to be most effective is for the woman to really do all this work on herself and lead the change by changing in the direction that she wants to go in. So getting herself turned on, really shifting the way she shows up. And that often invites the man rather than it avoids the conversation of, we need to talk, this needs to change, you need to change. So for her to start leading by changing, right? That Gandhi quote, be the change that you want to see. And for women, and a lot of it is dropping into our feminine and softening up and kind of inviting the man in to show him what's possible. And there's also times when you have to have those hard conversations. And a lot of the time it requires setting boundaries, like saying, I can't have sex the way we've been having anymore. It doesn't honor my body. How can we find something that works? And on a lot of journeys, this also means discovering that your partner does not want to change. You know, that there's people who value change and growth and expansion, and then there's people who value stability and kind of solidity. This is how we do things. And you may find out along the way that, you know, your partner falls somewhere in those camps, and that requires some hard conversations and setting boundaries.
I think that one of the things that I've seen too, like you mentioned, when women take that initiative, 9 times out of 10, your partner's going to want to come along because they notice the positive changes in you. And they're like, what's up with that? I think it's another cultural thing, though, in our society. We're taught, oh, women are these virginal creatures and you're not supposed to go have sex. You're going to go to hell or die or get a disease or be a slut. And then you meet this man and he's going to open you up and turn you on and teach you how to have amazing sex, which is not how it works. And so many times women are in relationships and maybe no one's really ever learned how to truly be an amazing lover. Maybe they, you know, they have things that work, but like just being open to experimenting can be challenging for a lot of couples. But when you, I think for women to take that on themselves and know, like, you know what, I can be the one to like awaken this in my man. It doesn't have to be the other way around. Like it can be an exciting thing and not feel like, oh, I wish my man was like this. Versus like, how can I help awaken this in him?
Exactly. Yeah, it goes both ways. And it's a kind of a dialectical play. When one person leads, the other person then responds, and they go there together. Yeah. And I have to say too that the way John Gottman, I'm a big fan of John Gottman's work, relationship work. I'm trained in his approach, and he talks about how emotionally intelligent men, emotional men too, but emotionally intelligent men are key to successful relationship. So they're a necessary ingredient to having a relationship that will succeed and that creates, you know, a relationship based on connection and intimacy and closeness. And I would say the same thing in a sexual relationship, that emotionally intelligent men who are willing to listen and learn and attune to the woman's body and go on that ride that I mentioned, they're a key to a fulfilling, you know, really, really satisfying sex life, and a one that grows and expands over time rather than, you know, stays the same. That for women, we need a safe container. We need a man who's not going to judge us or rush us or criticize us, but hold that space. So while a woman can initiate that and share what she needs, the man has to step up and create that. Yeah. And so, you know, I started my work working with women, and I realized how important the man piece is, the male piece, and how important the couples work is in this work, because we need that container from men. We need that safety. We need them to be there for us, again, in a way that I described, non-judgmentally, not rushing us, and not kind of using our body for sex, but actually being with us, being with our bodies, listening, attuning. So this piece is really important. And I started doing more couples work because I am so excited about bringing men and not only teaching them something new, but showing them what's possible when you learn how to attune to a woman's body and what she really needs.
And I think most men are really hungry to know. Like, they want to please you. They want to know. Mm-hmm. And you know, inviting them in a loving way to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's very fun work. I love it. Not easy. Couples work is not easy. And I really absolutely love it when I see women feel like they're being met and have both of them really open up and melt. And yeah, it's incredibly heartwarming.
And thank you for doing the work that you do.
Thank you.
So I know you've got some fun stuff coming up. I would love if you would share with everyone how they can find you, and you've got a couple of fun programs coming up.
Yes, yes. So actually, on the topic that we were talking about before, that there's nothing wrong with women, but there's I've seen and believe that there's so much wrong with the way we teach sex, or rather how we don't talk about it. How all the things we don't teach our kids, we don't teach adults, we don't talk about, even in spaces like the gynecologist office. So I have designed a group program for women where we're going to do a new kind of sex ed, which is pleasure-based sex ed. And it's really about how to have sex for your pleasure. Not out of obligation, not out of duty, not even because it's nice for intimacy, but because it's really, you get pleasure out of it because you want it and it fills you up. Not that obligation part is not that important, but intimacy part is very important. But a lot of women will have the intimacy piece, but not actually enjoy the physical. And this is really about bringing all of that. So it's a group program that's starting on March 20th. It's an online program, 8 women, 8 weeks, 8 juicy topics. And you can find it on my website at irenefehr.com, IRENEFEHR.com, or specifically, thank you, on this link, which is bit.ly, bit.ly/pleasure-sex-ed. And that will take you directly to the page.
Will you say that one more time, please?
So bit.ly, bit.ly/pleasure-sex-ed.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And for women who want to work individually with me, or for couples, I offer consultations where we really get to know each other and go deep in exploring what's going on for you. And then we can decide to work together. And so I invite people to reach out, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer in the forum or on the email.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for being here. It's such amazing information that you've shared, and I'm so grateful to know you and for all the amazing work that you're doing in the world. Thank you, thank you. And ladies, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to ask any questions. If you have them, you can pop them in the comments, and we'll make sure to respond to you as soon as we can. And if you have anyone else that you think could benefit from this, please do share it, because the more women we have out there living pleasurably empowered lives, the happier and better the world will be. So thank you so much.
Amen to that. Thank you for having me.
And is there any last thing you'd like to offer before we say goodbye?
No, thank you. It's awesome.
Okay, thanks everyone.